1969, in my home state of Tennessee, we were the fourth healthiest state in the United States. In 2009, we were the fourth unhealthiest. So what happened? We went from the fourth healthiest in 1969 to the fourth unhealthiest in 2009. Well, as Nashville started looking at this to try to figure out where we became unhealthy, one of those major items was lack of exercise. When I was a boy living on a farm, never would you have thought to tell my father, my grandfather, my great-granddad, or any folks working on the farm that they needed to go out to the gym and get some exercise. You need to go get on the treadmill. You need to go pump some weight. Not at all. They were throwing hay. They're digging digging holes in the ground with post hole diggers. They were cutting trees. A lot of physical activity. Today, that's a little different. Today, we see people sitting behind desks. We see people behind cash registers. We see people working on the assembly line, and they're not getting that exercise, that cardiac or resistance that we used to get years ago on working on those farms, as many Americans did. So what do? So we've got those jobs working in the offices, in the stores, at the factories. We got to do that for work, but how do we get the exercise, the cardio? How do we get the resistance training? That's where exercise comes in. Dr. Walter Kempner, a scientist, a medical doctor at Duke University, back in the early 30s, he found that if we will exercise 4 times a day, the body works so much better. And we found that as we applied that to our patients at the clinic I used to work at, we found that if our patients would exercise 4 times a day, their bodies just run a whole lot better. It's kind of like we don't drink a glass of water just once a day. We drink water throughout the day. So if you can have periods of just short exercise throughout the day, it might be a 20-minute power walk or just stroll after a meal, your body just runs a whole lot better. And why are we talking about this? We're looking at how to prevent disease. Yes, you may have some disease that you want to address, and you can help reverse disease by doing this. But the big issue we're looking at here is how do we prevent disease? So how do we exercise? How can we get that cardiac exercise? There's a simple way of doing it, of where you just, whether you're walking, you're rebounding, you're swimming, you're cycling, you're rowing, and that's where you go 3 minutes fast, 1 minute slow. 3 minutes fast, 1 minute slow. It's called intermittent training, and that works extremely well. Now you can do it a little more highfalutin, where you take an Omron machine or something, and you put it on your chest. You set the watch, you take 220 minus your age, 220 minus your age, now that's the maximum heart rate. And then you do, start out 65% of that. And let's say 65% is 115. Then you want to get your target rate, which is going to be between 5 beats above that and 5 beats below. That's your working range. 5 beats above, 5 beats below, so that's 120 and 110. So you go out and you walk until you get up to how much? 110, and then 120, and then you go slow until it comes back down to 110. I was walking with a fellow one day at the clinic, and we were walking, and we got up to say that 120, and we started strolling, so it would come back down. And I noticed his watch wasn't coming back down. And I said, well, let's just plumb stop. Let's just stop and see what's going on. And we stopped, and it still wasn't coming down. I'm thinking, what's going on? And I said, are you thinking back at home? This man was involved in business. His wife is back at home. Are you thinking about home right now? He goes, yeah. I said, did you see that squirrel over there? Look at that bird. Isn't it beautiful out here today? And boom, his pulse came right back down. So as you're out there exercising, be careful what you're thinking about, because sometimes that can keep the heart rate up because you're stressed about whatever it may be. So again, how do you do it with this intermittent training with the machine? Take 220 minus your age. That's the maximum heart rate. Start out with 65% of that. You can then go to 70, 75%. And let's say that target rate is 115. You go 5 beats above, 5 beats below, and you exercise in that range where you go fast until you get to the 120 and slow till you get the 110. And you just keep going back and forth. If you don't have that, it's real simple. Just go fast for 3 minutes, slow for 1 minute. Fast for 3 minutes, slow for 1 minute. It's kind of like working out with barbells. You just don't pump weight for 30 minutes. You do reps. And so this is kind of like reps. There's two major kinds of exercise. You've got the cardiac, which we just talked about, and the other is resistance. And that is where you are using, say, some bands or some weights where you're trying to do some resistance. And if you don't have that, you don't have to go buy barbells. You can go and you can get some bags, say some several pound bags of beans, and you can use them and do some exercises with them. You can do. I've used 5 gallons of a gallon jug of water. That's 8.34 pounds per gallon, and you can move those back and forth, and that can be a resistant type. Or you can get some bands, and that works well. Again. For our cardiovascular system, which yes has the pump, exercise actually helps the cardiovascular system, and it also helps the lymphatic system. Two very important things to keep our bodies good and healthy and prevent disease. See y'all back as we look at more keys to health.